It's me, Sean Capri. Welcome to episode 141 of We the GamerCast. It comes to you on iTunes, Google Play, and mother-loving YouTube every Monday. Like today, thank you so much for being here and subscribing, clicking the thumbs up, leaving a comment, and supporting us on patreon.com/makeusbetter. I'm just going to run right into it, guys. So much is happening at patreon.com/makeusbetter. So many shows, the Trophy Room, Nintendo Nostalgia, Warp Whistle Gaming, and it's all thanks to our executive producers, our gold producers, and our I don't know, I'm way off script, guys. I'm a little lost here. Let's get back on track with our platinum executive producer, Corey Hicks, gold executive producers, Sheldon, Benedict, and Mr. Moody, and all of our gentlemen executive producers. You know who you are, Dude427. How are you, dude? Martini Jean, Aaron Doherty, my Irish brother, the Irish cream. I don't know where to go with that. David Ray, Jesse Armstrong, James Johnson, Dr. Doom, and Mr. Nick Milicia. Guys, people from all over the globe, across the land supporting us. Thank you so much. And we've got a great episode. But if you're new, here's the deal. Every week I have sweet hangs with the stranger from the internet, and if you want to be on the show, it's easy. Just tweet at me at Sean Capri, Sean like Connor, Capri like the pants. Last week I was so full, chock full of energy. This week, a little tired. Link turned 1 yesterday. In case any of you missed on Twitter, he turned 1 year old. 1 years old? 1 year. 1 year. He has been alive for 300. This is 366th day. Most parents get a little carried away with he's 17 months or whatever. Let's keep track of days and make that super annoying for everybody. We're going to get into it pretty quickly here, guys. He's sleeping right now. I think Chelsea might be sleeping too. Maybe take a little nappy. Well, not like the diapers in England, but just a little nappy poo. A little nappy poo. Oh, see what I did there? Let's get going, guys. I was on Play Some Video Games, the flagship show, PSVG. I want to say thank you to Kevin and Kyle for having me on, and also say thank you to whoever from the Play Some Video Games crew wasn't able to make it that opened up the spot for me to be on, because if you guys haven't already, we were live, and I know a few of you were in the chat there, but if you haven't, go please check out that whole network. You just one feed, you get like 6,000 episodes per week, I think is how that works. But one of those 6,000 I was on, and I had a great time. So thank you guys so much. Slowly but surely, we'll have the entire PSVG crew on here. This week we have somebody from the We the Nerdy crew, and so we'll just kind of swap back and forth. Can't do it all at once, but you guys will all be on here. I'm really enjoying this kind of like mishmash of shows. We're all over the place. This is good times. I want to give a little love to 2 new producers. This week was crazy at Make Us Better. 2 new producers, Tammy Ryan coming in, helping out the show. She, goodness gracious, just came out of nowhere, lighting up the Discord. If you guys haven't already joined the Discord, the link is in the chat. Go say hi to Tammy. And also, Jared Gauthier. Highly intelligent. Thank you so much, guys. I really, really appreciate it. And Jared created a template for streaming. And then, of course, I take like a week off of streaming almost altogether. Gonna be back. I needed to paint a little thing for Lincoln. We got him a set of drums. Can't believe I skipped over that. His birthday present, like a legit set of drums, not like rock band drums. Which, by the way, real drums, at least 6 times harder to put together than rock band drums. I thought I knew what I was doing. I found some sweet YouTube videos. Might even practice some lessons so that I know what the heck I'm talking about when getting a link on those drums. But it's sweet, man. They're legit, and they are loud as balls. So see how long it takes for us to completely regret that decision. It should be a good time. You know what, though, guys? I think we're going to get into it. I haven't been playing a whole lot of games. I say to Chad in here, like, it's been Stardew Valley, and I don't even know why, but I am getting just a whole lot of satisfaction. And I don't know, Toby Thornton, I don't know if you listen, but you told me so, and you were right. And there's something about this game that is, like, I'll just play for 45 minutes, and that's it, and I'm loving it. So Stardew Valley is it. We'll just continue. Oh, and if anybody listens to the Xbox Drive, we forgot to mention on the Xbox Drive that Dave is going on vacation. He's not like Bobby. He's not completely abandoning us. So it'll be Johnny Casino on the Xbox Drive this week. So maybe you don't like Dave, but you like Johnny. And you've been skipping it this whole time. Check out this episode. So the Xbox Drive continues on. We're going to get into the show with Chad Waller from We the Nerdy. This is gonna get weird, everybody. We're gonna talk about comics. That's cool. We're also gonna talk a little bit about fan fiction and perhaps some AquaMan smut. So stick around, everybody. This is gonna be good times. You can follow Chad on Twitter at DualWieldSoft, and we'll get into all of that. What the heck does that even mean? Here he is, Chad Waller.
I have that problem with iTunes a lot, where it's like, it's not broke, don't fix it. And they're like, well, no, we broke it even more, don't worry.
Yeah, every week it's a new thing.
Sucks.
Every week it is a new update on iTunes, isn't it?
Yeah, I haven't downloaded like the last 10, but eventually it's gonna force me to, and then I won't know where anything is again.
What do you even use? Do you use iTunes on your PC at all? Are you PC or Mac?
I'm PC.
Yeah. What are you using iTunes for these days? It breaks my heart to even have to ask that question, because I used to love obsessing about my music library and like going in, making sure it's all organized, and iTunes was like my hub. And even moving away from Winamp, that's really the heartbreaker.
Oh man, Winamp brings back some memories.
That's what I loved updating. I think that might have been the only piece of software I really enjoyed updating, because it would always launch with it. It would always have that sound at the start. Really whips the llama's ass. Every time you updated it, you're like, yeah. It's good stuff.
I have an iPod as my MP3 player of choice.
Do you really?
Yep.
What kind?
A 4th gen Touch.
Oh, okay. How big is that?
32 gigs, I think.
Why not use a telephone?
I don't have a smartphone.
Whoa. How are you existing in this world? I thought that was a requirement to be a human being. There's a possibility to be not having a cell phone right now.
I mean, I have a cell phone. It's just
smartphone.
With it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it like a flip phone?
Kinda. It slides up and down, so it's got a full keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 8 years old now.
Why?
Because too much, and if I have it in my pocket, I will never leave.
That's fair. And I'm not even like... I'm sorry.
So the only thing I wish I had was like a GPS on the thing, because you drive places, but I have a Garmin for that, so.
Which is actually the best. How is Garmin actually? They've managed to stay in business, even though everybody said that iPhone should have really wiped them out, but somehow they are a better GPS. Or maybe everybody's really intrigued about their own heart rate. I'm not really sure.
Well, because the one I have, I mean, that thing's kind of a dinosaur too. It just still works, and it's great. Like we said, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
That's true. Actually, thank you for calling me out of my own shit. That's a really good point. I'm getting frustrated with all the new technology and all the updates and everything. I'm like, why do I even do that? Maybe that's why I like console gaming, actually. Because, you can't really break it. There's not really... Unless you're in, a preview program or something, you're probably not going to have a really broken experience.
That's true.
Or Red Ring of Death or something like that. But, yeah, you don't really have... There's not enough factors to really break it based on your own configuration. But anyways,
yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. I want to talk about comics, man. I want to talk about... I have not ever gotten into comics, and I feel like it's a shame. I feel like in another life I maybe have, if we believe in parallel universes and stuff. And so, but I am, as we are both part of the We the Nerdy family, I'm well aware of, that's really the bread and butter. And before we really even get into comics at all, I kind of wanted to start to talk about, how did you were there before I was there at We the Nerdy. How did you and Andrew... I'm sure you were, man. I feel like I remember everybody introducing themselves in the group, and I'm sure you were there saying some smart ass thing when I introduced myself to the group. God, I don't even know how many years ago. So I'm curious, how you and Andrew kind of connected.
God, I don't remember how I found Andrew or the We the Nerdy website, but I know he was looking for writers.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to the site and I saw that they had a section for books, and at the time I was reading a lot of books and doing a lot of book reviews.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, hey, I can't promise I can do a lot of content, but you don't have anybody reviewing books, but you have a slot for it, and I'll do that for you. So a lot of my old posts are reviews of novels.
Mm-hmm.
It got to a point where I was taking a lull in that, or it was just taking too long to get those reviews out because it takes so much longer to read a book than a comic book.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started just jumping on different comics. You'd see a number 1, and it's like, well, I can start there. I don't know how superheroes work, but I know that Wayward number 1 of Wayward, and it just slowly started building. Mostly with the indie stuff.
So when you started,
Dark
wait a
Horse
minute. When you started writing reviews for comics, you didn't know like how superheroes were. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, I mean, superhero comics is it's so hard to get into them because there's so freaking many, and
Yes.
there's all these moving parts,
Mm-hmm.
and they connect together. So it's like, if I wanted to read Spider-Man, I don't even now I don't know where I would start with Spider-Man.
Me too. Okay, I'm so glad. Okay, this makes me feel a lot better. This is my problem. This is why well, I wanted to get into that too. But this has been my problem with comics in general, is like, I don't know where to start. And even when you say like, I guess I'll start with the number 1, I'm like, I feel like that maybe used to mean something. Maybe I'm totally misguided in this, but a number 1 used to mean something big. And I don't know if that's true, or if it was true and now it's different. I don't know if you have any insight.
It's definitely different.
Yeah.
Marvel likes to renumber their stuff because number 1s sell better than number 20s.
Yeah, of course.
So every time there's like a new arc in their stories now, they'll start it over as number 1,
Mm-hmm.
but it'll be continuing from a different story.
Right.
I've had a number of times where like, it's like, oh cool, a new Marvel number 1. Maybe I can finally get into something and we won't just be shitting on DC books on Comic Stash. And then it's like, last time on, Dragon Ball Z, and it's like, but this isn't number 1. This doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just don't read Marvel books. It's just not worth it.
Is that specific to Marvel then? Is that what you're saying? Is that number 1, the way that they do number 1 is totally different from DC or anybody else?
Yeah, DC seems to be a lot better with just going forward.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem with DC books is finding when an arc is going to start and when one's going to end, because usually there are jumping on points, but they don't really telegraph when those are, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's you follow Batman long enough, it doesn't really matter. But if you're trying to like just get into Batman, like you're probably going to be kind of lost because he's about to marry a Catwoman, and they're doing wedding plans,
And that's a comic book. Like that's
a comic book.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I want to talk about this DC thing. You guys often kind of crap on DC. I'm gonna get to Comic Stash as well, but you guys often talk about DC. Is it a bias there to begin with, or is it like something that you've genuinely or organically developed like a hatred towards DC? And now I'm hearing everybody just rip us apart for even bringing this up. But I want to get your opinion on it, because even Andrew's brought it up to you.
Yeah, Andrew can fuck off. Can I swear on this?
I guess so.
Okay. I'll try not to. Okay, so our hatred for DC is somewhat hyperbolic as a joke at this point. There are good DC books that we like. We're actually actively reading Batman and enjoying more issues than not now.
Mm-hmm.
Now that it's gotten to a point where Tom King isn't just writing really generic Batman books with him fighting Bane and the Joker and whatnot. So there's definitely stuff there. Mr. Miracle's really good. There's good books there. The problem with DC books, though, is that there's what I would consider bad storytelling in comics, which is hedging on a lot of writing and a lot of exposition. They do that a lot. I don't know if it's editorial mandate on like how many words they want in a book, or if it's just some weird crutch some of the writers use. But if you pick up,
why would you want words in a book? Why would that be a thing?
Right. I mean, it's a comic. It's a visual.
Right.
But there's like, if you like, the last time I read a Green Arrow book, frickin' Quincy would not. I think it's Quincy would not shut up. Like every time he was just by himself, he was like sneaking through this building, and it was really cool. The artwork was great, and he was just monologuing the entire time, and it was right. And it's sort of a systemic problem for a lot of those books, and I don't like putting up with it, so we've stopped reading quite a few of them.
Mm-hmm. And so how do you keep up with all of those things too? Like, if anybody were to go to We the Nerdy right now, you're gonna see like a good couple dozen reviews or exclusive looks, or like there's so much going on all the time in the comics world, and somehow we at We the Nerdy like kind of keep up with it. But you know, the same could also be said in video games, maybe to a larger degree of just volume in games, but like. I guess it's time commitment, really. I'm maybe answering my own question. Because you guys can kind of get through the comic books pretty quickly, and then you kind of write a bit of a review. I'm curious your approach to reviews too. I feel like movies and even like comic reviews in a way are probably even more difficult to, at least for me. I can't wrap my head around how I would review a movie, at least in a written form, versus a game. Like a game, you can kind of talk about more than just what you're witnessing and your experience with it.
Yeah.
I find with like movie reviews, a lot of times writers will give away like way too much of the story, because like what the hell else are you even gonna say? How does it work with comics for you? Like how do you kind of review a comic? What's your baseline and then your process?
And I half of my comic reviews I do in like 10 to 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't have to be very long. There's not that much to talk about unless it's a really involved book with like some socio-political commentary
Right.
that you want to get into.
But it's always going to be a piece of a whole story.
Yeah. And so I don't like to talk about plot a lot in my reviews. I feel like plot is the least important thing to basically any type of story.
Mm-hmm.
The characters are always more important. Theming is always more important. Just the writing itself, dialogue, if it's natural. With comics, you got the artwork and how that fits in tonally and color and panel layout. So there's parts to talk about, and I usually my reviews they're very structured. Like I start with some kind of dumb intro to get that out of the way, and then it's largely what are the characters doing this time? Like how do the characters feel? Are they realistic?
Mm-hmm.
And then I end with artwork. And always usually introduce that with like the same sentence. Because at this point, I've written so many comic reviews, it's just easy to fall on.
Mm-hmm. I was wondering about that too, with a lot of people who just kind of like pump out reviews all the time, and how many sort of same statements. It's really difficult to be. I don't know. That's where you really have to work on vocabulary, right? Like so that you have a number of different words and phrases to describe generally like the same. Like there's only maybe a limited number of reactions that you can have, especially within. I found, okay, so maybe this is like an analog to comics. Like when I was reviewing like the Minecraft, what the hell was it? The story mode, the Telltale game, right? So it's 5, or I think it was, I think the first season was 5 episodes, and not sure what the ending was going to be, so you're kind of doing like one piece at a time. It's not very long, so like your review's not going to be very long either. And that, I think, is actually, that presented a new challenge for me to review, that maybe that's kind of just what the challenge is for comic book reviewers all the time. And so maybe you kind of just settle into the groove then? Is that kind of the approach of, you know what you're getting into before it happens, whereas with Minecraft, for me, I guess it was new and I didn't know exactly where it was going to go. And a lot of expectations of what is this game supposed to be.
Yeah, I think there's something there.
Yeah.
The useful thing is, like, at least with something like DC books where they are structured in arcs. So like the last run of Batman was, I think, 3 issues, and him and Catwoman were dealing with Ivy. And so as soon as that arc started, it's like, okay, we have something new. So you're kind of working with a first issue, even though you have the baggage of the characters.
Right.
But that brings familiarity, so you know there's certain ways that you can tackle it because you know what you're going to talk about, even if you don't know what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm. Don't they always come with the baggage? What about the? Oh man. Okay, this is all related. I mean, talking about and reviewing comic books and the fact that they're short and you're always going to have to rely on the same sort of reactions is one thing, but also the same characters, no matter how many times they reboot or change storylines. Like, how does it get boring for you at all? Like, do you ever run into a little bit of fatigue? Do people generally do that?
Yeah.
Like, why? Yeah. How the hell do comics and these characters in these worlds persist and endure, even though there's not really a whole lot of movement on them? Or maybe there is and I'm just totally blind to it.
Well, that I really can't answer because I didn't actually start reading comic books until I joined We the Nerdy.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, Batman's got, 40, 50 years of history to him, but I only really started getting into Batman, like, 2 years ago.
You just have to make him dark, really. Was he lighter before, maybe? I don't even know.
No. The lighter Batman is way more fun than Dark Batman.
Interesting.
And the
Okay.
early runs of Rebirth were very gritty, and now he's getting married to Catwoman, and it's way more fun. I like the fun in my superheroes, and which is why I like Marvel movies a lot. Just the dumb quips and there's always something kind of lighthearted.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good time. It's an adventure, and so that dark gritty superhero stuff I generally don't like.
Mm-hmm. That's it. I feel like that's on brand for you too, Chad. I mean, just because that's like it seems like a bit of a crux or a cop, or like people just default to I like the dark gritty Batman because like that's supposed to be what you like. But I don't know. I agree that maybe just something different. You mentioned something about I want to touch on this with Marvel when you talk about every now and then they just kind of like reboot but there's still some of the old stuff. Like number one doesn't really mean anything. I'm curious. Do you have any thoughts on on the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Is that in the future? Are they because eventually Robert Downey Jr. is like gonna maybe be better suited to play Professor X because he's gonna be in a wheelchair pretty soon. He's getting a little old. So like, should we be preparing ourselves for a Marvel reboot? Because this can't keep going. Hugh Jackman, all these people can't keep playing the same characters forever.
That's true. I think we should prepare for a Marvel reboot, and we should want one because God, we've got 17 movies now with a lot of the same characters.
Yeah.
And while I'm still really enjoying Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, I would be really fine for him to eventually retire that character and then either get a new Iron Man or do was it Ironheart, is I think who they tried, where it was a younger woman taking up the mantle.
Yeah, and partner up with Thora. Was that? I think there was a female Thor.
Yeah, there's a Lady Thor.
Yeah, Lady Thor.
I didn't read any of those.
Mm-hmm. It worked for Ghostbusters. So probably.
Yeah, people hated Ghostbusters.
I know. What are the comics that you do like then? Like where were you, what books were you reading before if you weren't in the superhero universe?
I started off with a lot of Image stuff. I think the first big one I got into for We the Nerdy was Wayward.
Okay.
Which is a Jim Zub book, kind of a young adult urban fantasy that in Japan.
Okay.
After that, it was what all I was really grabbing like every Image number one I could and just going a ways. And if I didn't like it, I would eventually stop.
Mm-hmm. And for people who don't know, what is the origins of Image Comics? Because I feel like there is some like Marvel DC is really like the Big Bang, but then everybody basically moved on from there and did something else. I feel like in my mind something is triggering that happened with Image, but I'm not sure. Is there?
God, I don't know a whole lot about it. I know Image is all creator-owned stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think it was a spinoff that way where people could go write their own thing and they would own their own IP.
What about Todd McFarlane? Is he involved in any of this? Something is triggering here.
He's doing Spawn.
Yeah, but did he come from Image and then go and do? I don't even know. Is Spawn on Image?
Sure.
I'm way out of my element here.
Yeah, I only know the books we get, and there are like The Walking Dead. We don't get review copies for, so I don't read it.
And that's Image.
Spawn we wouldn't get review. We wouldn't get review copies for.
Mm-hmm.
Very cheap.
I
don't buy a lot of comics.
I'm more. So are you reading comics digitally then? Like, is that like everything that from We the Nerdy is digital? Or are you getting physical stuff?
No, we get it all as review PDFs.
Right. So you don't have to worry about a whole bunch of like the long boxes and whatnot. It's funny because like I don't really get into comics, but I love Comic-Con. And like I find myself just like going through all the displays and just kind of like thumbing through, just like I don't even know what I'm looking for, but there's something amazing to me, and it like triggers something in my lizard brain that is so satisfying about a nice comic book collection. It might just be the smell, but I don't know.
They're very colorful. Like I buy the comics I really like, or the ones I get cover quotes on, because I got that ego masturbation going.
Of course.
And so I mean, I have a shelf of comic books, yeah, and there's something really nice about looking at them. That it's small. It's definitely not like what my neighbor has. He's the one who's got like boxes and boxes of old Marvel books.
What's he gonna do with that, do you think?
I don't know.
You just kind of smell it.
Yeah. Under his pool table.
Where in the world are you? Like, are you on the East Coast somewhere? Are you near Comic-Con? Like, are you able to jump into any of that?
I'm in a really small city in Minnesota, on the border of Wisconsin.
Originally? Are you there? But are you there? Are you like where are you from originally? Because I feel like you don't sound like you're from Minnesota at all. I don't know if that's a thing.
I've got no. I'm no. I mean, if you go really northern Minnesota, you get more of the accent.
Yeah.
I'm southern Minnesota, but I am from La Crescent, Minnesota. Is the city?
I definitely would have placed you somewhere like maybe like Philadelphia or something like that. I don't know why. And maybe we should have strung that out a little bit, Chad. We should have had people like maybe guessing along as they. Huh. And so the reason I asked because I kind of wanted to see like what the like is there a comic book scene or anything like that you can kind of get into, or is that maybe in lieu of all of that, that's sort of what leads you to the internet to connect with people about your love of comics or newfound love of comics?
We have 2 comic book stores in my city in La Crosse, which is about 10 minutes away, and that's pretty lucky for around here. I think it's not a huge scene. I mean, one of the comic book stores, the one I go to, also sells stuff for hookah and what vape pens. They also sell CD. They sell movies. It's a freaking wonderful store. There's all kinds of used toys you can buy. Every time I go in there, it's mostly to buy music.
Mm-hmm.
I like my physical CDs.
So you bring them home and you rip the CD and then put them on your iPod Touch.
Yep. And then I put the CDs in a box and I don't look at them ever again.
Right.
But I have them.
I have to deal with that in one way or another because I do have a couple of boxes of my old CDs. I actually had my car stolen. Gosh, it would have been about 10 or 15 years ago. And my huge binder, did you ever have one? Maybe you still do.
Yep.
Like that giant binder of like 200 or 300 CDs is in there. Like, why was that ever okay? That was really stupid of me to have in my car, just waiting for somebody to steal it all. And the best thing was then through insurance, I got to rebuy. They didn't even there's no real way of proving how many CDs you have, but I was pretty honest. Not pretty. I was very honest actually. Like, you know, I think it was about 250 CDs, and insurance just kind of directed me to this store that dealt with insurance claims like this, and we just like got to pick 200 CDs off the wall, and just like so some I was replacing, some CDs I definitely didn't need to buy again. That was one of the best experiences ever. And that's what kids these days, they'll never experience getting their CD binder stolen out of their cars, you know. Gosh, we had it so good.
Or walking through a Best Buy and actually seeing like 6 aisles of music.
Oh man, that is so sad.
They have now.
I mean, we always talk about Blockbuster being gone, but you're right. Like walking into a Best Buy and seeing like, this is the new stuff that came out this week. This is the new games, the new movies, and the music. I guess comic books that still exist though. Like you walk into a comic book store and like this is all the new stuff. Kinda. But who's going to a comic book store anymore?
The two that in my area don't get a lot of the smaller stuff like the Image. They'll get some the really popular ones, but so it's largely DC and Marvel, and then like The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Well, I have to make sure like all the books I want are on order.
Yeah.
Or I won't get them.
Are you on a book? Are you on like? There's a few times that We the Nerdy has been actually like quoted on the cover of a comic. Are you on one? Because that is like the coolest thing.
I'm on 6.
Holy cow! Not that you're keeping track, right?
Not that I'm keeping track.
So what is that like? Like, because I know, you know, there's something to be said where you could, if you wanted to, just try and get on a book. Like there's some prestige to it, right? And there's probably certain types of phrases that are more or less likely to get onto a cover. But I know you, and I know your style of writing and the way that you talk about comics. That's not in you, really, to just kind of like put a quote in there and go, well, that's a what do you call it, a cover quote or book? I don't even know. So like, how do you deal with that? Like once you get you're writing wrong?
You're right and wrong.
Okay.
Generally, I approach reviews very organically, and so whatever is on my mind about the book is what's going in the review, whether it's important or not. However, there have been books where I'm just like, I like this book a lot. I'm definitely going to buy it in trade. I wonder if I can get my ass a cover quote. And then I will...
I was not expecting that sort of honesty. Okay.
No, if you read my review for the Prism Stalker #2, there are probably 3 I tailored as like, these sentences would all look really good on a cover.
That's really funny.
And I'm really hoping to get one because that book is really good, and I'm gonna buy it in trade.
That is so funny, dude.
So I may have done that for Underwinter.
And it worked?
Yeah, and I felt really bad too because Jean-Luc had a quote in all their promotional material, and then the book comes out, and then I'm on the back.
Attaboy. That's so funny, man. So talk to me about Comic Stash, because there was a while, like, are you guys, let me take a step back. Where did Comic Stash start? Was it that you wanted to have a podcast on We the Nerdy? Did you want a podcast? Like, where did your connection with podcasting first, and then also Comic Stash come into play?
Geez, okay, that was a while ago now.
Yeah, right?
So, I love podcasts. I used to work a couple of really boring jobs, and so to pass the time, I would listen to podcasts all day.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I really, really like podcasts as a medium, as an entertainment medium. And my favorite ones were stuff like GameSpy Debriefings or the Dismal Jesters.
What is that? I don't know any of those.
So, the GameSpy Debriefings was a really old podcast that spun off into the Comedy Button.
Oh.
So, it was video. Like half of it was off topic, just pitching jokes and characters and just having a good time.
Yep. So this is Brian Altano and
off of
Max Scoville?
Yep. It was Brian Altano, Scott Bromley, Ryan Scott, and Anthony Gallegos.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And then yeah, okay.
Dismal Gestures was the old Podtoid with Jim Sterling and Max Scoville.
I didn't know they did something together.
They're not Max Scoville.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they oh man, this because Dismal Gestures isn't around anymore.
Yeah.
But at the time it was, and so it was these video game podcasts with a very large heaping pile of nonsense thrown on top.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like talking about video games. I like knowing about video games, but not for like an hour and a half.
Yeah. Oh man, this is all making a lot of sense now. That these are your podcast origins. Okay, I'm getting it now.
So, Comic Stash is very much like the GameSpy Debriefings of comic books.
Yes. Okay, that actually makes way more sense, and that's why I love this show and doing this and just kind of like getting to the bottom of this, man, and understanding people's origins in a way, because that immediately makes me like Comic Stash even more. Like, understanding where that nonsense comes from, like, with all due, like, I mean that in the best way possible.
Oh yeah. To me, a bad episode of Comic Stash is if we talk about comics the whole time.
The whole time, yeah.
And so the last two, the one we recorded last night, is basically a full hour of comic books, because like 12 came out we had to talk about. And there was no stupidity at all, and it was very disappointing. Yeah,
and you feel it in your heart, where you go, that was maybe a little too, like, by the book or too structured. I don't know, which is funny because did you always record in that way, and did you always want that nonsense to be on there? But because, like, for me, I sort of knew in my heart that podcasts were great when the hosts were having a good time, but like when you listen to the very, very early episodes of We the GamerCast, or even when I was joining on with Andrew and Stephanie and everybody else, I was trying to be the best, like, person I could be, like the best, like, most knowledge, and like it was totally, I'm not the most smartest, like, whatever. So eventually I learned to kind of like let go of that, because there's always going to be somebody who's better and smarter and knows more or anything like that. And as soon as you start having fun, you're like, oh yeah, this is why I started. So I'm curious, for you, is that sort of, was it a similar path, or did you know and act upon your knowledge that it's better to be all over the place than structured and trying to be the best comic book podcast out there? Whatever that means. God,
I'm trying to go back to like the very early episodes of Comic Stash.
Because how many episodes are you on now?
We did 97 this week.
Holy crap. Are you doing something cool for 100?
Yeah, John talk about fucking politics.
What?
So he's a poli-sci major.
Yeah.
And so world politics are his jam.
Mm-hmm.
And this was around like episode 30 something, where he's like, we should do an episode about politics. And I was like, I think I get to 100, you get your politics episode. And he's like, I'm gonna hold you to that. And I was like,
really
that
funny.
Sucks, because I know you're gonna hold me to that.
Mm-hmm. Way to go.
And so, yeah, and right now we have this thing where it's like, am I gonna get just hopelessly drunk for that episode, or am I going to be on my best behavior? I don't know yet. Leaving that up to the viewers, listeners.
So now you've been doing almost 100, which, congratulations. That is, I don't think people, like, because have you guys done every single week? Because we were doing something with video and stuff, and then I don't know if that was just not really worthwhile, or that sort of
we've
stopped.
Missed like think we've missed like 2 weeks, and
That's
that
really
was just
good,
one
man.
of them. The audio was just there was something wrong with it, and we just had to scrap it.
Yeah.
And I think there was another week where we just couldn't get together. At least 2 of us can get together every week and talk about comics.
That's why this is the version of We the GamerCast that exists. Is because I couldn't get anybody like to actually commit every single week. It was always like, and even though like they would sort of commit, which isn't really a thing, there would be cancellations like 10 minutes before all the time. Andrew, remember what was Badger Banter? Remember that? Remember Badger Banter? You want to just rip on Andrew for 5 minutes here?
Yeah, I'll rip on Andrew all the time.
Okay, what's the worst thing about Andrew Semicek?
He's not on Comic Stash anymore.
He's not allowed on a Comic Stash?
Oh, we had him on once and never again.
Yeah. Why is that?
He was man, I don't.
He doesn't know anything
that
about
episode
comics?
was really. No, he knows things about comics. He really likes Marvel books. But part of it was like it was so we have like this. Me and Andrew and a lot of people I think on the site and Andrew have a very funny rapport that's kind of mean, but it's jokes.
Yeah.
But I feel like when he was on the podcast, it kind of went past jokes, and it just like we were just really mean to each other. It was a very antagonistic episode of Comic Stash that was uncomfortable to listen to.
You were both playing characters of each other that you thought the other person was maybe expecting, and then it just kind of got a little nuts.
It did, and we had problems. Just the logistics of it, getting him to record because he was recording his own audio, and then I had to get us all to sync it, and he was being kind of stubborn about a few things.
Shocking.
Yeah, it was a really really weird episode that I don't think is up anymore.
So are you like how would you describe like your person? Like why? Maybe there's a clashing thing that happened there with Andrew, but how would you describe your own personality, or how would friends kind of describe you? Because I don't know how to place you, Chad.
I'm not really sure, because I go back and forth for like I try to be nice and a good person, but my humor style tends to edge on the abrasive and kind of disgusting side. And so like there's that weird clash where like someone joins We the Nerdy and I'll say welcome instead of welcome. And to me that's really funny. And to most people, it's gross, and they want me to just never talk ever again.
Oh, man, I just don't even know what to do with that. Do I have to write that down? Like, I don't even... Because, like, that I think I might have to... Let me just have to write down 37 minutes. And then people will have to wonder what you said instead of welcome. I don't know what to make of that, man. Because here's the thing. Because I'm having almost like an identity crisis, which is totally hyperbolic. I'm not having a day. But like when I think about comedy, right? When I think about Dave Chappelle coming back and doing his special, he's saying things that are similar to the things that he used to talk about 10, 15 years ago. And then they were like offside before, you knew they were wrong, but now they're like, oh, a lot of people think that's wrong now. And so, but I still think it's funny. Like it still kind of like hits me in the funny bone. So it's a tricky place to walk, because like you don't want to like just let go of things that you think are funny, and I think censorship is a very difficult topic altogether. But then like I don't know, I guess it's maybe more right time, right place type of stuff. But
yeah, you have to know your audience and know the venue.
What's the audience for Comic Stash? What are you guys? What are the listeners like?
Oh, man,
they
we
like
don't
you guys?
have a lot of listeners. I'm never
it's a show for you.
By that. It really is. It's a show for me, Jean, and Alex to just have fun for an hour and talk comic books. And
it's Alex Hansiak, is it?
Yes.
He's the best. I'll rip on Andrew a little bit, but Alex is amazing, dude.
Yeah, I adore Alex. I wish he would actually write for the site.
What's he doing?
Don't know.
Just podcast?
He's writing for a different website right now. That he's getting paid to write for.
Oh, well, I guess I can't blame him for that.
Yeah.
Are you playing any games?
No, I've been...
As I totally jump ship here.
Overwatch.
Yeah.
So I've been playing Overwatch for the first time.
How's that?
And that's been kind of fun. it's a lot to take in. There's a lot of characters and a lot of buttons.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm enjoying it. I never thought I'd get into it. I'd had no interest in playing it, and then all of a sudden, my friend's just like, "I bought this for you.
What
We're
do you
gonna play together now."
normally? What would you like? Where's your like? Do you have like a video game center that you kind of like fall back to, or like I actually don't even know.
I play Super Smash Bros. With my brother pretty much every week.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's like our Friday thing.
Like for the Wii?
For the Switch, so Smash 4.
What?
Or no, yeah, it is on the Wii, isn't it?
I'm like, you play. What future are you going to? Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that one.
Mm-hmm. So is Nintendo kind of like?
I'm using a classic controller, and so I just never I never have to actually look at that big honking thing with a screen on it.
Oh, dude, I keep it just right here next to my computer for some stupid. It's not really plugged into anything, but every now and then I just kind of give the Wii U a little flash on the video, and I don't really know why. It's I have a whole bunch of games next to me here for the Wii U, and like in my brain, I know in my heart, I know I'm never gonna play them, but my brain tricks itself into thinking like you'll get to some of those sometime. Which actually leads me to think like is a backlog in comics a thing?
Yes.
And do you have one?
Yeah. There's a couple of comics in my downloads folder yet that I really need to get to before the next issues come out.
Mm-hmm.
I tend not to. If I start falling behind, I usually just dump the series.
That's probably the
trade.
healthiest way to do that.
I mean, I only got so much time, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was talking to Andrew earlier today, and he told me to ask you what's with your obsession about MLP, and I actually, first of all, don't know what MLP is. So yes, let's get into this then. What is with your obsession? Now I remember.
Now I can't share this episode with my family.
Oh, yeah, like you were talking about the welcome thing before.
Oh God, my ship has sailed with my parents on my language.
Oh, fair enough. So My Little Pony, this is a real thing?
I mean, I watch the show, and I do read and review some of the comics if they're worth. I'm not like obsessed with it though. Andrew's playing that up.
Yeah, but sometimes perception can be reality. So what's going on?
So the show came out. Let's see, we're on season 8 now. So 8 years ago, it hit the internet by storm, and people were talking about it. And I was in college and stressed out, and then I was looking at job prospects and how they didn't exist because I majored in English. And I kind of like gave the show a chance. Like, people keep talking about this. I can't like escape this conversation. Let's try it. And it turned out to be a really cute little world where I could just relax in and not have to worry about the fact that I was probably going to be unemployed for a bit and then have to take a really shitty job that paid minimum wage.
Yeah.
Because English major.
Yeah, of course.
And I don't know. It's just I kept up with it because it's a low stakes kind of comedy cartoon with really gorgeous animation and generally fun characters. I mean, I'm at a point where I criticize it a lot more than I enjoy it.
That's really funny, but that means you're passionate about it. That's the sign. You care enough about it to actually say like, it could be better in this way, which actually you have to have some baseline of knowledge. This is fascinating to me, Chad. That because I feel like there are certain things in this world that you almost have to. I don't think that you need to apologize for liking My Little Pony, but I don't know if you think that you need to, or that maybe some people do. I don't know. Like, there are certain things that are quote unquote allowed to fanboy out about. Like you. Okay, so you're talking about fanboying about maybe a little bit about My Little Pony. Totally weird for maybe some people. Fanboying about DC, Image, Marvel, like totally allowed. And maybe it's I don't know. It's a strange. It's a strange thing. I don't know. Maybe you're more progressive than you think, Chad.
Maybe. It's funny. I do a different podcast with a friend of mine, and we talked about fandoms on the last episode. And we both were like, well, we talked about the brony fandom, and we both concluded that
bronies.
Well, we're not
yes.
Yeah, we're not bronies, but we did spend 20 minutes talking about who the best pony was, and so no one believed us.
So then, what would make a brony then, if not that?
So my thing with fandoms is like it's a title you give yourself. you can be a part of something, but if you don't consider yourself a part of the brony community or the furry community or the juggalo community or the Trek community or whatever,
Right.
You're really not in there. You can just enjoy the property.
Yeah.
A lot of I don't go online and talk about any of those, MLP with most people. I don't.
Not yet.
I don't make music. I don't write fanfics. I don't read fanfics, or really listen to most of the fan music. I was at one point when the show was really popular.
I think I need to have more people on the show who do write fan fiction. I think those people are fascinating.
I used to write fanfics when I was in high school.
Tell me more about this. This is like, I don't know why I didn't start with this. My first question for everybody, like Justin Davis on GameScoop asked 20 questions. He starts it off with, does a character wear a hat? I think I should start every interview, or whatever you call this, with, have you ever written fan fiction?
It was nothing like particularly amazing. I mean, it was garbage because I was in high school, but it was mostly just Metroid stuff.
Oh, nice.
Because Metroid Prime was out, and that was like one of my favorite games at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just like, oh man, I want to write stories about Samus going on adventures and shooting space pirates.
Dude, that is so good. So, like, what were some of the stories? Can I find them?
Oh man!
Please tell me I can find. Did you upload these somewhere?
No, they are gone.
No, come on, get them back. We gotta get. I had Ryan Hewlin on here. He was talking about, he wrote a Back to the Future fanfic, and I don't know if he was so much in on. Like, I wanted to have a bunch of people on the show and do a read through on the fanfic, and I just don't know. I think it would be amazing and maybe probably hilarious, but I don't want to make fun, if you know what I mean. Like, I want him to be, if we're gonna have a laugh about it, I want him to be in on it. I'm not sure if he would have been. So that's unfortunate.
No, I actually went and tried to look for a couple not that long ago, because it was a topic that did come up on Comic Stash, and the sites they were hosted on no longer exist, and if you find them on the Wayback Machine, you have to log in.
Oh,
and you can't. So they're gone completely.
The digital world we live in, man. They need to be.
The last fan. I mean, I do have I did write an Aquaman fanfic for Comic Stash, but it was smut.
Oh, it was smut. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Tell me more. Tell me about this.
The joke.
You can't just leave me with that.
This is really early in Aquaman's run, and I think it was like the first Rebirth issue. And the relationship between him and Black Manta was really, really weird, to the point where I was like, they want to have sex, right? Like, I'm not the only one who's like, this is like a really weird sexual will they won't they thing going on that for a bit. And then I was like, I should get really drunk and write an Aquaman fanfic where they have sex, because it's, the writer's not going to do it for us.
This is the weirdest thing I think I've ever talked about on this show.
And so I did, and I filled it with fish puns, and there's about 50 fish puns in it. and I read it on Comic Stash, and
like what? Tell me a fish pun.
Not up anymore.
Give me a good fish pun.
Oh man,
are there any clean ones? Oh man, that is. I'm a big fan of puns. As a dad, you sort of have to be. You have to be a fan of puns. Somebody was there. Like, are they the lowest form or the lowest level of comedy or something like that? Somebody made up some garbage like that, but I think puns are terrific. Did I hear you walk away to go find them?
No, I have it pulled up. I'm trying to find it, skim through this, and
How does it feel to be writing, sex scenes? Like, is that weird? It's weird? Weird words are involved in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, the whole thing is an elaborate joke, and so it's not like I was trying to be particularly sexy.
Save that for the next. You practice with the weird stuff, and then you get a real 51 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, I mean, like Black Manta knelt and unbuckled Aquaman's ugly green pants. He then placed his finger on Aquaman's tri-dick and ran it from the tip to the base. Just tri-dick. So it's like a 500 to 800 words of that kind of garbage.
Oh, that's nice. That's tightly packed.
Yeah, well, that wasn't the only thing that was tightly packed.
Oh, I don't even know why I said that. Dude, that is so funny. You need to get that. I was going to say you need to get that up somewhere. You need to, like, post that somewhere. And
I should post it on We the Nerdy.
You definitely should. And don't tell Andrew you're going to do it.
It's from back in 2016.
That's really funny, man. I love it. Dude, thank you so much for your time this morning. I especially appreciate both of us really working through some technical stuff. I'm going to maybe do a refresh of Windows later on today. I think you're editing. Are you editing Comic Stash later on?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, man, thank you so much. Lane, why don't we wrap things here and tell everybody where they can find you on the internet, as well as hopefully find your smut fan fiction on We the Nerdy very soon.
Oh man, I so did not come on this podcast for my smut fan fiction.
I know, but I got it out of you. You didn't even know. That's the thing. I
did.
hear that all the time, and people are like, I was not expecting to talk about that, and then we got there. That's it's 141 episodes of experience right there.
There you go. So you can find me on Twitter at DualWieldSoft. That's my company Twitter. Because like video games, we did not talk about video games really at all here.
Whatever. I tried.
But I have a
Overwatch.
card game, an action battle
Oh,
card
damn
game
it!
CCG thing called the Land of Glass, which people can go buy on Steam.
Hang on, we're not wrapping up. I'm kidding, everybody. We're not done. Tell me about this game. I did download it, but my kid turned 1 yesterday, so that sort of took priority. Hence the bags under my eyes. I need to like zoom out my camera a little bit and maybe, I don't know, have some camera tricks, because like the bags are starting to the bags are carrying bags under my eyes. Tell me about let's talk about this game. I didn't get a chance to play it, and I am very, very sorry, but
That's okay.
It's a card game.
It's a card game, but it's also
and what
an
is it
action
called?
game.
Let's start from the beginning.
The
And
Land
you
of
made
Glass.
this game, The Land of Glass, made
Yes.
by you, Chad Waller. Holy crap!
And my brother.
Okay, well he's not here,
My
so it's
brother
all
did
you.
the hard work.
Oh, really?
He did all of the art. He programmed it. He did some of the music.
So are you a writer on it essentially? Like, or is it?
I did all the writing. I did a good chunk of the level design. I did a good chunk of the music. I did almost all of the sound effects.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it was there's only 2 of us, so everything was 2 of us.
Yeah. I think I need to stream this.
Yeah,
Maybe that's how I make up for this.
I wish more people would.
I'm gonna stream it. That's how I'm gonna make up for this. I apologize. I wanted to be able to talk about this after having some experience with it. Just didn't really have. To be honest with you, like here's my video game experience this week, which always makes the section of like what you play in super exciting when you like just sit on your ass and you're barely awake to like hold the controller and you're just like, I'm just gonna play 45 minutes of Stardew Valley. And then that's it. And I can't even, I just didn't even have like the energy, like even being this chair keeps me too upright. And I didn't have the energy to have the upright posture to be sitting at a PC. Sure. But Land of Glass, card game, why do I want to play it?
Because it's not a turn-based card game.
Okay.
So I'm not really one to play card games, but I like the idea, like the strategy and synergy between the cards, but I also I want something more reactive and active than taking turns.
Right. I'm actually the exact same way. I would describe myself the same way. I like the idea of it, but I just never get around to it.
The game is you have attack cards, you have defense cards, and you have like magic cards and trap cards and stuff like that. But you're physically placing them on different grids to do damage and defend yourself, and you're doing it in real time. And so there's very much this like kind of back and forth between attacking and defending, blocking and that you're controlling, but it's all done through cards. So you have to actually build a deck where this is going to do where it's got to work. So it's kind of the best of action games and the best of card games. We hope.
Yeah. So how did you build it, man? Like I don't even like. I've been talking to a couple of people who have like made music and made other things, and I just don't even understand how you even get started. How have you made games before? Is this your first kind of like foray into game making? I don't even know where to start, so I'm curious.
So this is my first personal foray into it. My brother went to school for programming with the specifics of video games. In high school, he got into Game Maker and just started learning. He basically taught himself how to program. Yep. With Game Maker, and this is a pretty extensive background as far as that goes. And so he did a lot of the really heavy lifting. I have no idea how programming works. He types these weird characters with a lot of semicolons and slashes, and then things happen on the screen.
Yeah, that's my basic understanding of it too. So then you got getting it up onto Steam. Like,
yep.
This I've heard of this whole self-publishing thing. Is it as simple as this? Like basically what you sent me a file a while ago, and then later a code. And thank you very much for that. Is it basically that, like, how does that actually work? Is there a portal that you log into, or do you have to get some sort of approval to be somebody who submits games? Like, how does that happen?
There's really not an approval process, which is why Steam is such a dumping ground.
Yeah, so you can just like create a login and then submit your game?
Yeah, I mean, you have to. There's some paperwork you have to fill out. You need if you're a business, you need a tax ID number. If you're by yourself, you use a social security number. But you need to enter banking information so they can pay you.
Right.
There's a couple things you need to like sign, but really, it doesn't take that long.
Yeah.
It's not that difficult to do.
And so, is the game in early access, or are you launched? Are you like
launched?
Yeah. So like, what are your expectations out of it in terms of, is this one of those, let's just see if we can actually even do it? Because that was sort of like what I did with the GamerCast, but like just to see like, can I actually do this thing? Like, what are your expectations with actually launching this game?
That's our expectations at this are kind of low because it's really hard to get people to know it exists and care about it. And so I've been trying to do marketing and get sites to review it, and it's an uphill battle.
Yeah, definitely. Well, even yes,
I mean,
yeah.
We want it to do well. I mean, we've made some financial and life sacrifices the last couple years to get this thing done and out in a timely manner. And so, if it doesn't make any money, we will be out, resources. Not like a nest or anything, but there was a investment. But we don't need to sell that many copies to make that back. So the numbers we're looking at should be doable as long as we can get just some prominent sites to notice it.
So what are some of like the lessons that you learned building a game that like can you take to making another? Like, is there a future in this for you guys, especially as the two of you, or is this like a one and done kind of thing?
Oh no, we want to keep making games. It's just will it have to stay a kind of after work process?
Yeah, totally.
That kind of thing. But
you don't want to like take 3 or 4 mortgages out on your house so that you can make Cuphead kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it kind of gives you that behind the scenes of like, what do people actually go through to make the game work? And then, yeah, you're right. Like, it's not even just that's hard enough. Just making a game that doesn't crash, very difficult.
Yeah.
Then making a game that doesn't crash that you can actually get people to cover, and then even if they cover it, will people buy it? Like, you even look at like Lawbreakers, very prominent dude making that game, a lot of talk about it, and not many people playing it. So yeah, you
the
got
game's basically done.
Yeah, totally. And I'm shocked that they've actually moved on to something else, the Radical something or other, the new early access battle play.
How far you've fallen.
I know. I love Cliffy B, man. Like a lot of my love for Xbox is derived out of Gears of War, and a lot of that love for Gears of War comes from Unreal. Like Unreal, the first like not even Unreal Tournament, like Unreal, the PC game from way back in the day. It's like one of my favorite games of all time. Probably one of my most like seminal experiences with PC game or gaming in general. Just like, this is the future. I'm outside. I don't have to be like in this underground corridor for the entire game. I'm in outdoor environments. That completely blew my mind. Yeah, in my mind, he's a genius. Like, he really is. And then there's this. Then Lawbreakers happens.
Yeah. Well, I love Lawbreakers. I thought Lawbreakers was amazing. It's just it failed to find an audience.
That's all I'm saying about it too. Yeah, and PC only was one thing for me.
To your one question about like getting into it and just things you learn.
Yeah.
The one thing I learned is that you can basically do anything if you put time into it and aren't afraid to try.
Right.
I had never composed music until I started making this video game, and then we needed music, and I didn't want to buy it or use royalty-free stuff, and so I bought FL Studio and we started making music, and that was a pretty crazy learning experience, but it was totally worth it. Like, it was one of the most gratifying things as far as game development for me.
Can you send me some of that music so I can use it to introduce this whole thing? Because that would be awesome. Because otherwise I'm going to be using some like pornographic AquaMan theme song that I'm sure to find, and that will actually render my computer completely useless. So maybe I don't really want to do that. If I'm searching the internet for anything AquaMan pornographic music related, maybe some disco, that's just going to do my computer in altogether. Dude, I can't wait to play it. I'm definitely I'm gonna check it out on YouTube.com/WeTheNerdy this week.
Cool.
yeah, now that I have a whole other year before I have to worry about another birthday for Lincoln anyway. So I'm good now. I'll have a coffee and an energy drink because that's hashtag dad life now. And I'm pumped to play it, man. You really sold me on it. And congratulations for making the game and launching it. I'll have a link to the Steam page in the show notes as well. So thank you. Cool. Thanks, man.
Appreciate it.
So now is really the end of the show. I was joking before. Okay. This is it. Tell everybody. So Dual Wield Soft, that's the name of the company for the game.
Dual Wield. The company Dual Wield Soft is our Twitter handle.
Sweet, man. Thank you so much for this. This was great.
Yeah, this was fun.
The other game that I really would like to start streaming as well is this Lego's Dimension. This eventually will disappear. I'm looking at if everybody watching the video, I've got a stack of Lego Dimensions that I went and splurged on a little while ago. I've got to open these. I've got to construct this Lego. It's also a bit of a choking hazard for Lincoln. He wants to eat everything. He's learning how to draw and color. We're giving him like wax crayons, and he just kind of like, he draws a little bit, which is very impressive to me. Like he's one. I don't know how old you're supposed to be when you're supposed to start learning to color. Seems pretty good. So anyway, but then he draws a little bit, and then he just like shoves that crayon into his face. So that's not good. Wax, I don't think it probably smells like it's supposed to taste good. And if I remember correctly, I don't think that it doesn't taste very good. Wax crayon's not good. Thank you, Chad Waller from We the Nerdy, for being here at Dual Wield Soft. That music was his at the start. I asked him to send some music, and he did, so thank you to Chad. That's called A Dance with Dragons. Draxons? Wait, did you spell it Drax? Did I copy and paste Draxons? A Dance with Draxons. We're going with Draxons. That's exactly what that sounds like. Except without Fireball Blast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing on iTunes. That really helps out. And leaving a review. I'm mixing all my words. Trying to also be... A lot of napping is happening upstairs, so that kind of messes with your podcast mind. Follow me on Twitter at Sean Capri, Sean like Connor, Capri like the pants. Follow the show, We the GamerCast. The website is We the Nerdy. And the Mega Dads, by the way, celebrating 50th episodes. Their 50th episode coming up. They're in between 49 and 50 right now. You guys should go to megadadsblog.org, and they are listing their top 50 games. So go yell at them for that, because surely it's all wrong. And all of that good stuff. I am on If We Ran Nintendo tonight, Monday, on youtube.com/WeTheNerdy. That show goes up every Wednesday. And of course, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Johnny Casino joining me on the Xbox Drive on Thursday. I write every once in a while on We the Nerdy. Thank you to Gary Gray, our artist, and Adam Leonard, our other artist, and our video designer, Antonio Guillen. Hi, Antonio. We're working on something cool for the new If We Ran Nintendo intro, so just you wait. This podcast powered by the Dayspace Network of Podcasts. Otherwise, this is episode 141 of We the GamerCast, now in your ears and eyeballs. Let's go talk to Jason. Jason, come back next week. Bye-bye, Jason.
Jason! 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 Sean! 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 Sean, where are you? Jason! 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 Sean! 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 Jason! 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 Jason!